to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Worcester podcast. We are a community built on love, hope, and justice. Our goal is to inspire people to take on the challenges of a changing world. Each week we'll bring you a reflection from our minister, the Reverend Aaron Payson, recorded during our Sunday service. Maybe it'll move you, challenge your thinking, or even stir up a little righteous indignation. That's all welcome here. Thanks for listening.
To quote the immortal words of Madeline Kahn of blessed memory, I'm tired. I'm so tired. Lord, I'm tired of winter. And the prospect of yet another snowmageddon frustrates me no end. I'm tired of shoveling. I am tired of snow blowing. I am tired of salt. I am tired of snow piles. I am tired of the cold. I am tired of ice in all its forms. I'm tired of worrying about heating oil prices. I'm tired of being tired by all of this. I'm verklempt. I want winter to end. Amen? Amen? I wish it were spring. Wait a minute. I wish to be about planting my gardens. I wish for the smell of newly mown grass. I wish for sunlight and birdsong and the sound of the babbling brook behind my house. I wish for the smell of lilac in my yard and to greet the white cherry blossoms and azalea blooms with the smile that they inspire in me. Anyone know what I mean? But here's the thing, though. Come mid-August, I am probably going to be one of the first to be tired of the heat. I'm tired of sweating, tired of yard work, tired of sun glare, tired of 3 t-shirt days, anxious about the next electric bill, and hoping for the onset of cool fall breezes. Every season has its apex. That point when we turn from what we had hoped for the next thing we hope for on the horizon. Always, always accompanied by tiredness. There is nothing new about the waxing and the waning of our desires and our seasonal routines. As a species, we've met these challenges over time with a kind of creative flair, if you ask me. Winter rituals when we bring greenery and light into the dark corners of our abodes, spring celebrations that bring us into the flowering presence of nature, summertime near the cool water of lakes and ocean tide, fall harvest festivals with treks into the wilderness, a leaf with changing color. All human efforts to honor the change we experience in nature and in ourselves. I would argue that this is also the genius and the timing of the Winter Olympics. Right? Happening as it does during the last gasp of winter, so we were told. What a powerful display of human capacity to meet challenges of the season with courage and steadfast commitment and athleticism. And let's admit that this spectacle every 4 years is also a product of a commercial culture that creates heroes and heroines from those who already have fortunate enough to have access to the finest resources that money can buy. So while I too was excited to see the U.S. win gold in the women's hockey, the men play yesterday? They're playing now? Oh, Lord, I have to be in competition with that? Someone had better have their earpiece in and give updates at some point here. No updates? Oh, because you want to go home and see it. Ah, okay. No updates. None. Oh, bring the baskets back. While we understand that so many have spent years preparing for this moment, and so many are looking forward to having their moment when they get home, the idea that one's life would be defined by a 3 or 5 minute performance or a 45-minute performance, and not by the journey to get to it or the thrill of being part of it, seems to miss the point of it all anyway. The fact that someone can race down a mountain at the speed of sound, leap into the air, grab both feet and flex them behind their head, and part their hair, and land backwards while humming the national anthem ought to be enough for a standing ovation, regardless of whether they hit the right line in the end or not. And I bring a similar sensibility to the season of Lent, which began again last Wednesday, on Ash Wednesday, that 40-day period of preparation in the Christian tradition for the coming of Easter and resurrection. And if we're honest about it, while Lent certainly is a Christian tradition, it is overlaid on a much more ancient period of contemplation and preparation for humanity. Jim Palmer writes in his Substack, Deconstructionology, long before the church formalized it, Lent was a human season, a seasonal rhythm, a communal pause embedded in agrarian life, a time when winter scarcity forced people to simplify and conserve and reflect and prepare for renewal, all while being tired. That's my addition. Christianity didn't invent that rhythm, it inherited it. It codified it, it gave it theological language. And the heretical truth is this, writes Palmer, Lent is not owned by Christianity. It is a human technology for awakening and recalibrating and returning to what matters. That's why it still resonates, even for people who have left religion entirely. Because beneath the doctrines, Lent is simply this, a pause, clearing, a reckoning, a return, a season for waking up. Palmer points to Ash Wednesday as a good example of this universal call to awaken. Ash Wednesday, he writes, is the threshold moment that opens Lent, a ritual interruption designed to snap you out of the trance of ordinary life. Traditionally, it's been a day when someone smears ashes on your forehead and says, "Remember, you are dust." But beneath that religious choreography, Ash Wednesday is a human technology for confronting the truth we spend most of our lives avoiding. It's an annual reminder that we are not finite, that we are finite, that our time is limited, that life is not guaranteed, and that our attention is most precious resource. Ash Wednesday is not about shame. Not about groveling, it's not about proving your devotion, it's about reality, a kind of reality we avoid until something collapses. It's the ritualized moment when the universe taps you on the shoulder and says, "Stop pretending you're invincible." Ash Wednesday is a day we collectively break the cultural spell of endlessness. It's a day we stop performing immortality. It's a day we admit to our lives that our lives are not finite, infinite scrolls. We are dust, yes, but dust that can choose, dust that can awaken, dust that can live with intention instead of momentum. I love that. Living with intention instead of momentum. In its ancient form, Palmer writes, Ash Wednesday wasn't meant to make you feel small, it was meant to make you awake. For Palmer, and I would argue for so many, the basis of the Lenten season upon which the Christian tradition is founded is much more about the natural rhythm in us to pause, especially at a time of year when there isn't much else to do except shovel snow. And it is the creative possibilities available to us in a time which is the mark of our species, making us different from all other forms of being. For as Rollo May reminds us, we are the only species that is capable of pausing between stimulus and response, and in that moment to decide where to direct our energy. The blogger reminds us that we built a culture that rewards numbness, speed, self-abandonment. We've normalized distraction as a lifestyle. We've turned avoidance into an operating system. I love that. And in that kind of world, a season devoted to slowing down and waking up and confronting reality is not just helpful, it's radical. He writes, I'm taking Lent out of the church and dragging it into the open. I'm putting it back in the hands of people who have walked away, burned out, been exiled, and simply realized their spiritual life is too big to fit inside the walls they inherited. I'm doing this because Lent never belonged to religion in the first place. Religion borrowed it, institutionalized it, and, he says, let's be honest, weaponized it. But the deeper rhythm, the existential rhythm, has always been human. He notes that the word Lent is derived from the Old English word meaning spring. Isn't that simple? Spring, the lengthening of days and light, a season of awakening to the rest of nature itself, was never meant, he writes, to be a 40-day guilt marathon. Any of you baptized into that tradition? Some of you? I love this. It was meant to be a season of awakening, a human recalibration synced to the rhythms of the natural world. Religion later overlaid it with a sin language and penitential theatrics, but the original meaning is embarrassingly simple. Wake up! But Ash Wednesday is a bit like the first morning alarm going off, if you ask me. We're cozy, and the idea of getting out of bed needs more thought and perhaps an appetizer. When the second and the third and the fourth alarms go off, we are frumpy, cold, and uncaffeinated. It takes a few minutes to find our bearings and the coffee or teapot, and to greet the day with something more than the pre-verbal grunt that foisted us up in the first place. Maybe it's the shower or the warm liquid energy of the tea, or maybe it's the text from a friend that tells us some exciting news. Eventually, most of us course change and gather ourselves for the day ahead. For me, it is the quiet of the house before my other two-legged and four-legged companions awake. It's the silence of those moments, in the darkness as it fades into the light of day, a time when all is a possibility and nothing yet has been accomplished, that I find most energizing. A time to breathe, a time to think, a time to remember, and a time to appreciate that moment. That's Lent. I admit that I may be strange here. For others, I know the same moment brings a different set of emotions and thoughts, but I think that the lesson of Lent, in its more universal foundation, is an apt example of what is possible in the moment. What we allow ourselves to remember is important. I have read to you from the book Who Brought This Truckload of Dung by Ajahn Chah, the Buddhist monk and author. He tells another story in that book about an experiment, I think in England, between two classrooms. So educators, I want you to think about this. Two classrooms of kids, both classes are given examinations to determine class rank. And here's the experiment. Instead of creating two classes the next year where those who score highest on the test are in one class and those who score lowest on the test are in another, they take the top 10 or so and they divide them evenly among those two classes. The next year, they assign one class, Class A, and one class, Class B. And they go about the year. And to be honest, Class A'ers think they're pretty good. And they're taught such. Class B, they wonder why they're in a second class. They're taught such. Their parents even enforce this. The Class A'ers, some of them have parents that are like, I didn't have any doubts. Other parents are like, I cannot believe you're in Class A. This is remarkable. And in Class B, the same kind of thing. Everyone is like, why are you in Class B? You should be in Class A. This is not your best. But yet both classes have a mix of students. Can you guess the outcome at the end of the year in terms of another set of tests? How do you think Class A did on a whole? Much better. And Class B, much worse. I want us to bring the same sensibility to Lent. You enter it, go ahead, enter it with all of the mourning and frustration and the sin language and the incapacity and the mea culpa and everything. And guess what? You're going to have 40 days of mush. 40 days of slog. 40 days of spiritual mire to get, and no chocolate to boot, right? Or caffeine, right? For those who are strict, no meat protein, right? It becomes something that we don't look forward to. But if you enter Lent with the possibility that this is actually a gift to clear yourself of the ways that you and I get distracted from the things that matter, and to give yourself the space to focus on the things that do, it takes on its original meaning. Right? The ancient Jewish mystics used to talk about, in order for the master of the universe to create, right, the universe, the master of the universe needed to create space in itself for the universe to exist and expand. I think that is an inherent quality of beingness. You want growth? You want something different? You want possibility? Stop cramming your life with everything. Stop trying to fill the void and allow the void to exist in order for it to be filled with the integrity of your own spirit. Your ability to make space is actually one of the most creative human things that you can accomplish. And yet we live in a culture that is consuming itself and consumed by itself, which is part of the reason that Lent ought to be that opportunity for us to stop consuming. But it isn't about the chocolate, although it could be. I hear that Reese's is really angry with Hershey's right now for changing the formula in peanut butter cups. This is distressing for someone who grew up 45 minutes from Hershey. I want to admit it, right? And yet, it is exactly that kind of critique which suggests someone's paying attention. It's not just about consuming things, it's about tasting things. It's about experiencing things. It's about noticing things. Cha writes again in his book on who brought this truckload of dung about, experiencing gardening. How many of you are gardeners? Right? So if I said to you, how do you enjoy your garden? right? How many of you would say, I love to just sit in my garden? A couple of you, right? Excellent. Now, those of you who had your hands raised, how many of you sit in your garden and immediately begin to notice the things have yet to be done? Right? And spend your energy enjoying your garden and going, I should really do that. I should really be this, right? We should all over ourselves as a matter of saying we're enjoying something, right? Or those of you who spend your energy sitting in your garden going, maybe I ought to not think about all of those things. Maybe I ought to think about this. I ought to, and it's all about what you're not doing in the moment. It's not about you fixing the garden. It's about you not giving yourself an opportunity to just breathe. And how many of you sit in your garden and get lost in birdsong or in blooms or in the fragrance of the ground as it comes alive? Our capacity to clear ourselves in order to be able to receive the gifts of every season is in fact what Lent demonstrates, if we allow it to demonstrate. And so my gift to you today is to remember Madeline Kahn. I know you're tired, and I know more snow is coming. And I know it's not what we wish for at this moment, except for my wife, who has an insatiable appetite for winter. Although, I must say, she's not the one who shovels. But she does make a hell of a stew, so I'm not going to complain. Accept the fact that you're tired. But then take a moment and move beyond your tiredness and recognize that claiming tiredness is not just about recognizing a physical state, it's also about declaring a longing for something else. And if you can pay attention to what you long for and recognize why it is that you can't move to that in the moment, maybe, just maybe, that moment of contemplation, that time of preparation, that opportunity to remember what it is you long for is the point of the season to begin with. Because winter will end, I promise you. Right? And we will get to the season where we get to enjoy our gardens. And then we will be tired of them. And we will move to the next phase of our longing. But in each moment, take a Lent moment. Enjoy the next 48 hours. You're stuck. There is nothing you can do about it, except bitch or enjoy. The choice is yours. Amen? Amen.
Thanks for tuning in. If you're just crossing our path, either new to this congregation or curious about Unitarian Universalism, check out our website, uucworcester.org. You'll find lots of information there about our beliefs, the 8 guiding principles, religious exploration for children and adults, our social action initiatives, and the many groups we offer to help people connect and have fun. And consider joining us, in person or online, on a Sunday morning at 10 a.m. We'd love to meet you.